Good. Excellent. We're recording. Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, wanted to come to you guys for a moment here and be able to just let you know that it's a little bit crazy over here where I'm at in terms of traffic and cars. So hopefully you won't get too much feedback. But um, if you're here and you're in the insurance space and you're new, it's pretty easy to get started. The number one thing that we need to do is just make sure you got a writing number. If you have that writing number, you just need your script, you need your cheat sheet, you need your, one-page application. Shyler can name all those out to you. And for those of you who are going to show up that are new, I'm going to make a video for people that may not even be here, and then we can just get it out to them as well as you guys. So I'll be very brief, very concise, to the point, A to B. So right now is the time to make sure you do all your contracting, get it all knocked out for Medicare and life. If you're not going to be selling Medicare in the next, I would say 12 months, then don't worry about contracting right now. If you're here to do life, that's the easiest way to get started. You're going to see a lot of people out in the marketplace that are, really talking about something that's really popular right now is IULs, Index Universal Life. And that is simply a policy that's based on your age and your health. You have to be super healthy. It's fully underwritten. So you have to pass a blood test, a medical exam, and then it has to be structured properly and funded at a high enough level. So you're looking at an individual who is not in the top, they're not in the bottom 80% of individuals. They're going to be more in the top 20%, meaning that they're not living paycheck to paycheck, that they're able to save a little bit every month. You're going to have to probably work with these individuals if they're not in that market to get to a point where they could tuck away, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month, because if they're not tucking away enough money for an IUL, you're going to see this all over social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, on Reels, YouTube Shorts. If you do much in insurance, you're going to start seeing, oh, well, you can invest your money into a life insurance policy and you're going to get tax-free gains throughout your lifetime. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with this policy if it's structured correctly. So you have to really do your due diligence, I would say, because there's a lot of agents out there that aren't very good at their job, and they're going to sell you a policy not knowing how to structure it, and you're underfunding it, and therefore it's not going to work out. I mean, I'm an example of a guy who set out to do a policy where I would be saving $600 to $1,200 a month in that policy, and I was only paying like $300 a month, and I had no cash value after 2, 3, or 4 years, which doesn't really make sense. The policy was being underfunded. I would have had to get to the 10 grand mark just to be able to even pull any money out. So after you put 10 grand in, then you can start getting some money out. It's like, dang, I had put in about $3,600 over a 3-year period. And then at that point, I can't even touch any of that money. It was obviously for a long-term strategy, but there's certainly some policies out there right now today that you can get. You're going to start hearing about IBC, infinite banking. You have the ability to put money into a whole life, which the company pays you a dividend every year. These companies like Guardian, MassMutual, New York Life, who've been around for more than 150 years, are going to pay you a little bit of a dividend, which could be anywhere from 4 to 6%. These companies have been around for a long time, and some of their net worths are greater than that of entire countries. If you look at the skyline in any city, you probably can't really see the skyline behind me of Miami, downtown Miami, but it's filled with banks and life insurance companies in the skyline. These companies are making money off of us. They're not building these beautiful, huge buildings like casinos and then not making a lot of money off the consumer. So I say all that to say this. Be on the lookout for things that are going to distract you from the main line that we're going down. The main line that we're going down to get started, that's fast, easy, helps you really get a basic grounding and understanding in the life insurance space, is being able to jump on the phone, read a script, follow a system, and help people every single day. I've had agents that made sales in their first day, right? So remember, when you're working, you're following the system. You're also making sure that you follow a path that you've seen someone do successfully, someone who's doing maybe a little bit better than you, or they're doing what you want to do, follow that person, and then find a mentor that's maybe not available, and follow their material. Like after hours, you could follow someone like Cody Askins, or there's other people out there like John Wetmore or David Price or Ryan Lodi. There's individuals you can be listening to when you're not at the job to help you for when you do sit down in the chair. It's not like the first time that you heard something like what I'm talking to you about. It's more so, hey, we're just going over the material. And if your line's not on mute, just mute it for me, because you're probably breathing into the mic or making noises. I can hear it from all the way over here. So just mute yourself, please. Thank you. Yeah, that person. Yep. So it's 8:37, and just wanted to quickly give you a couple overviews. So in recapping the last 7 minutes, look out for other types of insurance that look shiny and interesting. And, oh, I want to do that. Absolutely. You should definitely do it when you fully understand what we're doing right now. You can't and do what we're doing right now successfully, then just forget about doing those other things, because there's a lot more knowledge involved, a lot more patience and time. By the way, let's say you wrote one IUL policy today, or one IBC infinite banking, high early dividend paying whole life cash value life insurance that I've owned. Unless when you write a policy today, it's going to take 90 days to get paid on that. And if the agent's really structured the policy right, you're actually not going to make that much commission compared to what you can make on the final expense side. Okay. Obviously, if I could have met every one of the customers that we're talking to right now when they were 20 years old, 25, 30 years old, and sold them an IUL or that's structured right, and a whole life policy that builds cash value and actually builds more cash value than what the policy's worth, and you can borrow money from it, pay it back at a low interest rate, it's earning 5% increased profit per year. It's compound interest, something that's fully underwritten, that took you 3 months to get approved for. If I could have met all those people in their 20s and 30s that we're talking to now and sold them that policy, I absolutely would have, because that's the best policy they could get. But that ship has sailed. That's bye-bye to those people. They've already missed that opportunity. If they don't have it now, they're not going to get it ever. There is a way they can get it, but it just gets very complicated and convoluted. And I would like to table that until you can at least sell final expense, simplified issue. Simplified issue meaning this does not require a blood test. This does not require a medical exam. You can get approved within a couple of days. When you pass away, the money doesn't get tied up at the insurance company. It's going to pay out within 48 hours after your passing to pay out to your loved ones. So you're communicating this to people who, they have a need and they have a want. Maybe they don't feel the urgency because they have uncertainty and doubt and they don't really know how this works. So when you get on the phone today with the customer, one of the biggest things you have to look for is that need and that want, and how you can differentiate yourself from the other alternatives. The other alternatives aren't just other life insurance policies that are out there. One of the big ones that tricks a lot of people, you see it on TV, you get it in the mail, they give you this low number, really low number, and it stays in the buyer's mind. They think that they can get that number, even though they probably can't, because they're too unhealthy to qualify for term. By the way, term policies will decline you if you're on insulin. Type 2 diabetic, decline. If you're on a blood thinner, if you're on more than 3 high blood pressure medications, not getting it. If you have diabetic with any complications, you're not getting it. If you had a felony, if you have a suspended driver's license, if you're on disability, you're not getting term. So most of the people we talk to are between the ages of 50 and 85, and they can get a whole life policy that's a permanent plan. It's not going to change due to your age or your health. Once you get approved, it stays exactly the way from the day we got it for the rest of your life to age 100. When you turn 100, they will just write a check and send it to you in the mail. Most of these people aren't going to make it to 100, but some of them will. Hopefully they do if they want to, right? So the thing is, though, at any point, the only thing that changes in your policy is that it builds cash value. So down the road, if you want to pull some money out of that policy, you absolutely can pull money out of that policy. Okay. But we don't recommend you do that, Miss Jones, because it's really not advantageous for you to do so, because you're going to have to pay an interest rate on that. And most people are going to be interrupting you at this point saying, well, I don't plan on doing that. I don't want to do that. That's a great buyer right there, because they're getting the policy for the right reasons. Now, the right reasons are only three things generally. It's to leave money to a loved one for their funeral, their cremation, their final arrangements. Number two, they want to leave a special gift to a loved one, like their grandson, who's their favorite, or their grandkids. They want to leave something that their kids, who they don't even like, can't get their grubby paws on it and interfere. They want to keep that money from the tax collector, probate, banks, whatever, bill collectors. The money can only go to the individuals whose names are listed as the beneficiaries on the policy, right? So I always like to make sure, Miss Jones, we can talk about all those arrangements and how you're going to do this. But at the end of the day, we know it's going to take money, right? Yes, it's going to take money. Well, we're here to handle that part of it. That's my job. I can make sure that when the time comes that you're not leaving your family with a financial burden, of any kind. Now, whether you want to do a funeral or cremation, we can talk about that later, but that's really not the major concern here. Is, do you have anything specifically in place right now for your final expenses? And if the answer is no, then we need to take care of that. And then we can worry about all the details later, right? So the major thing that we need to be focused on is how we're going to pay for your final arrangements. Once we've established that, we have to differentiate ourselves in the buyer's mind from everything else that's out there. They're getting hit with things that they think they can get, but they actually do not qualify for. So you have to be able to discern and separate, be distinct from everyone else that's out there. Ms. Jones, my name is Griffin. I work with LC Financial. We look at about 50 different carriers for you. I'm just going to do some shopping around. Well, hopefully you handle that before it comes up. Well, that's actually, did someone tell you to ask for me, Miss Jones? What do you mean? No, you guys called me. Yeah, we called you because a little while back we got a request when you might remember being curious to see what your options were. But did somebody tell you specifically to talk to me? My name's Griffin. Oh, no, why? Well, because I'm the guy that works with people who are shopping around. They're looking for the best deal. That's why I have a list of 50 carriers I'm looking at. I'm licensed with 15 of them. They're all A-rated. They're 100 years old or more. They pay out quickly. We don't have any hassle when we go to get those claims paid. So if you want to work with somebody like that, man, where you don't have to talk to 15 different agents to get the same information that I could give you, then you found the right person. Most of these agents out there aren't talking to people like this. So it's really easy to be the best. You have to commit to being great. If you're here to work part-time, probably going to be challenging for you. Probably going to be pretty difficult to help you get up and running. But if you're going to work part-time, be committed to a schedule. You've got to commit to a schedule. You've got to decide what you're going to do before you do it and then do it. The biggest commitments that people break every single day are the commitments they make to themselves. These people that you're talking to, they've lived an entire lifetime almost. They're almost done. They're on the back stretch. They're in the fourth quarter, third or fourth quarter of their life. And you're at a point now where you got to go ahead and help them now, because if you don't help them today, somebody else is going to help them. Now, they've made these commitments throughout their lifetime and they've broken them to themselves. So the biggest thing that the customer doesn't trust isn't even just you, it's themselves. So you have to give certainty to the buyer. You have to be certain in what you're doing. You have to know what you're going to say. You have to say it confidently. It's how you talk is going to make a big difference. If you're married, or you have somebody you love that you're with on a daily basis, and you talk to them harshly, then you're going to know how things are going to be. You're going to know that that's not going to work out too well for you. You're going to have a difficult time. That's not to say you won't survive. Sure, you're going to survive. You're going to make it. You're not going to die. But are you going to be, somewhat happy? Are you going to be able to smile and not be miserable all the time? Well, if you talk and treat people that way, or you allow people to affect you who are talking to you that way, and you want to treat them that way back, you're causing a cycle of upset and unhappiness. So the best way you can be successful in this business is to be extremely frequent and have lots of conversations every single day. So you have to make that commitment. It goes back to commitment. Today, I'm going to commit to 5 hours of talk time. Today, I'm going to commit to 200 phone calls. Double dial, that's 400 dials. And I know agents that do triple, that's 600 phone calls. Now, if you don't want to be successful, don't ever do that. If you do want to give yourself a surefire path to making that success, then do that. That's the way you're going to do it. If you don't commit that time, then you can't get those repetitions. The things that I'm saying aren't even going to stick. You're maybe going to retain about 10% of it. There are guys that have been on the phones with me for weeks or months. They're saying, man, this is like music to my ears. This is a wake-up call. I needed this reminder. I needed this refresher. And even though sometimes they don't need to be on these meetings, they're always here every single time. They don't miss. The guys that need to be here the most typically are the ones that aren't here at all. So just make sure you're number one, you show up. That's 90% of your success. Number two, you commit to the system. We have a system that works. You don't need to reinvent it. You don't need to add your own ideas to it until you're doing better than the person who gave you those ideas. When you're doing better than the person that gave you those ideas, and you can prove it, and it's not like, oh, hey, I heard that Sally did this and that. No, I saw that he did 20,000 AP in a week, 10 writing. I saw that he wrote $250,000 of business that stayed on the books. So that means he really wrote about $300,000 or $400,000, and then $250,000 of it stayed on the books that year. I want to listen to that guy. He did that in his first year. I want to listen to that guy. I want to take his advice. We don't have people talk on these trainings that aren't making sales. If someone's talking on the training and I've invited them to speak, it's because they did well and they deserve to be there. We're not going to have people talking to you that aren't making sales on a daily basis. Some guys are going to be more responsible for helping others make sales, but initially everyone's going to be responsible for their own sales. So today it's 8:48. And if anyone has any questions, we're going to, in a couple minutes, you can type down your questions. I love emails, guys. I know that you may not like them, but I love them. So if you have questions, you can send me an email every single day and you will get a 100% response rate. If it's urgent, you can text me. If it's really urgent, you can call me. My cell phone number is 786-776-7077. Once again, write this down or type it down. My cell phone number, 786-776-7077. Call me. If it's like, I got a deal, I got a guy right now, he's ready. Call me. If you're like, yo, I got an important question I need like pretty soon, boom, text me. If it's like, man, I want this answered quickly, but it's not like super urgent, just email me, man. I love emails because I can give you a good, solid, long response with detailed information. I can even make a video on it, or I can send you the video that I've already answered the question in. If you've got a question, I've probably already answered it on my YouTube channel. And I'm redoing all those videos because I'm at the peak of the game. And the way I did it 4 years ago, I'm doing it better now. But what I did 4 years ago was still putting me in the top 1% of agents in the United States for final expense. So, anything you listen to is really not going to be bad. It's better than nothing. But obviously the newer stuff's going to be better, more relevant, and more effective, in my opinion. Best way you can win is to outwork everybody around you. So if I'm saying to do 4 or 5 hours, well, what's stopping you from doing 7 or 8 hours? If you're married, you have a baby, I understand. If you don't, I don't understand. If you don't have a kid, you're not married, I do not understand why you're not working 7, 8, 9 hours on the phones. So you're putting in a 10, 12, a 14-hour day, right? You came here because you wanted to be an independent contractor, set your own schedule, be a business owner, all that. But the problem today with entrepreneurship and all these little onepreneurs, one-man armies out there running around is that they're not very good bosses to themselves. They don't have discipline. They're weak. They're afraid of the 9 to 5. But I'm telling you that you've been lied to. You need to embrace the 9 to 5 as a minimum standard. And then you need to go beyond that just to get and stay up with the crowd. You have to run. Says in Alice in Wonderland, which is a funny book that we maybe read when we were kids, or the show when we were kids. You have to run just to keep up. So walking is never going to be effective in this business, especially when you're getting started. I was committing extra hours. You should commit extra hours. The beginning is the hardest part. So if you just run at it and attack it, you'll do well. That's all I got. It's about 8:51, and in less than 120 seconds, we're going to turn this over for questions. If you need to get a drink of water, or you need to use the restroom, hurry and do it. Come right back. We're going to answer any questions, including objections, role play. We're going to break out. We're going to do role play, and we're going to have you shadow somebody aside from that role play.